Hello everyone and welcome to Game 3 in a series between Tarson and Violet. Game 3 taking place here on Metalopolis, a map that both of these players should know very well. But then again, Zerg does have a slight advantage on Metalopolis. Spawning at the 12 o'clock location, Violet as the red Zerg player here. Meanwhile, all the way across the map in the southern position, we have Tarson spawning as the blue Terran. So it is going to be Terran versus Zerg here on Metalopolis, and we'll see what strategies and what the plan will be at this stage in the game. Now, most likely because of the cross spawns, Violet should feel relatively safe opening up with the 15 hatchery. We'll see if he does exactly that. Tarson has not opened up with any aggressive barracks play yet, really allowing Violet to get that strong economic opening and really be able to just utilize and count and bank on that fast expansion opening. Now, a lot of the times you hear players and you hear strategies, and you hear a lot of players say stick to what you're good at in a series, just because you want to make sure that your best goes up against their best. But at the same time, at this level of play, both of these players should have multiple openings that they are ready to execute and use. So far, we've only seen Tarson open up with this refinery opening here and the reactor Hellion and harassment, and we'll see whether or not Violet is going to be able to fend this off once more, or perhaps do another 2-base timing like he did in Game 1. Now, Violet is opening up with that 15 hatch. Extractor should be coming in just a moment. The drone does need to get away in a hurry. It looks like it will be able to escape just ever so barely, as the supply depot should be added off over here in just a moment. We are upgrading to an orbital command, adding a marine. Supply depot will be being built, or is being built now, as we see the extractor and now the spawning pool most likely be placed down over here, as Violet is opening up with the same exact build as well. So I believe Violet's build has pretty much been a strong reaction to Tarson's build, knowing that he doesn't have to deal with any very heavy marine harassment. A drone is going to make his way out, or sorry, a marine is going to make its way out over here, and if it catches an overlord out of position, this could be absolutely huge. This one marine, is it going to scout anything, is the key question. It looks like the marine is not going to scout out here. Take a look around, and oh, if he does try to scout out the overlord, it would be able to find it in just a moment. It does see the overlord, but doesn't keep track of it on the mini map. And that was a lost opportunity by Tarson. Tarson, by shooting down an early overlord, can really take a strong economic advantage. And as it eats into the larva and also eats into the building time on drones, it really throws Zerg players off, as there is that lost opportunity there. An overlord will be able to park itself down over here, and that is going to be absolutely huge. Now, Marines are just walking around, going to be holding onto that high ground. The factory now double training up Hellions, but we are going to be getting up a spine crawler already. Violet pretty much knows what to expect, but we are now going into an earlier starport. So Tarson is changing things up, perhaps trying to go for a marine Hellion drop, which does work out fairly well. Cover fire drops and generally work well if the medevac. No, it is going to be going into Banshees. So Tarson opting to get the double gas, now going into Banshees. He should be able to get in a lot of damage if he trains Cloak, researches Cloak, and also starts training up that Banshee in just a moment. Hellions do not take any gas whatsoever. That is the reason why it works out so well. As you now see, oh, one quick spine crawler here, a cancellation on that creep tumor, making sure that this creep tumor can continue to creep as the Zerglings now make their way out. But the Zerglings do have that metabolic boost and are on creep, so they do move out very quickly. Hellions now waiting for 2 more brothers to show up. The Banshee about 1/3 of the way completed. It should perhaps just make a straight beeline across the map and then start putting pressure here. Violet, he does not have an evolution chamber yet, so without an evolution chamber, evolution chamber now being built, but with that is going to be quite some time before the spore crawler is going to be completed. Now, Banshee going to make its way out across the map. The Overlord does spot all of these Hellions. The Hellions do spot the Overlord as well, trying to get some easy damage onto that one hatchery there, as the Zerglings are now coming around the far side of the map, perhaps to try to intercept a Banshee. Now going to fly across the center. Is it going to see any of the Zerglings? It does see the Zerglings. I don't think the Zerglings saw the Banshee there, as the front door is now going to be completely walled off. The Marines need to get some easy damage onto those Zerglings. The Zerglings are now trying to poke their way through, and now a Banshee going to go straight inside the main base. There's the cloak, and getting some easy damage onto a Queen already. That Queen now trying to hide. Is it going to be able to hide is the question. Is a Queen going to be able to get off a transfuse in time? It looks like the Queen will get taken down, but a Spore Crawler will be completed just in time. And is it going to make its way over as well? Now trying to get some damage onto some of these other buildings. It looks like the Spine Crawler could be easy pickings as well, as the Spore Crawler may make its way over. No, it is not going to make its way over. Waiting for a second Banshee to join in on this fight. 2 Banshees, better than 1. Apparently should be trying to push up over here. There are Zerglings down over here as well. There is an Overlord in position here. The Zerglings may be able to run inside, and they do run inside. This is going to be a headache for Tarson. Tarson now need to pull away with some of those SCVs. 1 SCV down, 2 SCVs down. Zerglings hop, skipping, and jumping straight into the Hellions, and down they go. Now, it looks as though these Banshees may be able to finish off this Spore Crawler before it is completed. And is it going to get it in time? No, getting some drones instead. Queens are now making their way over. Is it going to be able to finish it off? No, unable to do so. Trying to get the damage onto that one final Spore Crawler. It was uprooted, so the cloaking was lost, or the cloak detection was lost there, as the Banshees may be able to get off some easy kills. But in come the Spore Crawler. The Spore Crawler going to finish off one Banshee there, as the Hellions of Tarson haven't really done much, and Tarson now very far behind. He does have a command center upgrading to an orbital command, as he is still continually adding to this Banshee squadron. He is now up to 2 Banshees after losing 1, and we'll see how much damage he can do here. Harvester count 48 compared to 30 SCVs. Orbital command is not lifting off just quite yet. A mule may be called in before it lands off over here. We are getting an armory down, so Tarson looking to perhaps once again go into siege tanks, or perhaps try to go into Thors. He is getting the blue flame tech, and then the blue flame tech with level 1 weapons upgrade does allow Hellions to 2-shot drones. The drones do not have any armor upgrades right now, as we are now seeing an Overseer added to this group. Double refineries also being placed down by Tarson. Tarson needs to figure out how to get back into this game. He is down by 18 workers, as the Hellions just maneuver their way across the map. Hellion count up to, I believe, 14 now, as the Banshees look to get sight up onto that high ground, perhaps get some easy shots over here, but there are just simply going to be too many Queens. The Banshees quickly cloaking, but in comes an Overseer, and the Overseer, with a lot of Queens, able to take or push back all of those Banshees. A couple transfusions later, and those Queens don't even look like they took any damage at all. Hellions going up onto that high ground, trying to make sure that they are just staying outside of sight range of those creep tumors. Zerglings look to try to push in once more. Zerglings do run very, very quickly across this map now, and running straight into this group. The Marines trying to fight off here, and it looks like the SCVs are going to try to run for it once more. SCVs running into a group of Hellions. There's that blue flame tech. All of those Zerglings getting destroyed in just a matter of seconds, as level 1 weapons upgrade is being started for the mech. The Zerglings very, very smartly deciding to back off here. This one Hellion trying to finish off this hatchery, not going to be able to do so, as the hatchery definitely regenerates those hit points faster than the Hellion can deal damage, especially to an armored building here. No real damage taken so far by that hatchery. Hellions now running all the way across the map. The Mutalisk will be trying to push in over here, and there are 2 Banshees. The Hellion, will it be able to escape? It looks like it will be able to just do exactly that, as we are now adding 2 more Thors. 70 drones versus 36 SCVs. But is Violet going to have enough time with these drones to really make it pay off? His army is slightly smaller, and if these 4 Thors do move out and engage, or perhaps a semi all-in from Tarson, a lot of damage would be had. You can see 4 Thors, level 1 weapons upgrade about to be completed, a 5th Thor being added, more Hellions being added as well. Drones now doing some long distance mining here, as you can see Violet with a much higher just much higher economy spending, and also a higher income tab as well. The Thors are now making their way out. There are only 4 SCVs in this group, 2 Banshees, 1 Medevac to keep track of those units, and now in comes the Mutalisk. The Mutalisk perhaps going to try to focus down, but in come the Thors. The Thors completely destroying so many of those Mutalisks already, and that was a huge loss by Violet. Violet losing a good number of units there, now transitioning into 21 Roaches, and he's going to need a lot of them to survive. The Hellions do not spot any of those units down over here. Meanwhile, we have an attack in the main base. The Hellions could finish off all of those Zerglings in just a matter of seconds, as the Thors need to finish off this hatchery as well. The Hellions now trying to catch units out of position. It looks like the Banshee's going to try to engage as well. And what is going to be happening here? The Banelings busting up all over the place. The Thors are getting focused down. No SCVs to repair them. Mass Roaches destroying these Thors. And Tarson, with not very much, hoping that these Banshees can finish off all of these units here. The Queens are now coming in. The Hellions may get some easy torching here. Perhaps enough kills to perhaps reset it, but it doesn't look like it, as the Roaches finish off that attack there. 1 Thor down over here. That Thor now needs to run back home. Even with level 1 weapons upgrade, it is not going to be able to handle this sheer number of Roaches. 21 Roaches against 1 Thor. The Thor is crawling and retreating. 86 drones. Wow, 88 drones versus 41 now. And I believe Violet is now simply going to hit cruise control, be able to macro up to 200 food, and as long as he doesn't do any silly engagements, should be able to come out ahead. Drones, however, are getting toasted here, and that is going to be a very heavy hit. As you can see, a lot of drones taken down there. 20 drones already killed, 76 compared to 60 or 45. There are 2 mules in play, but there are no additional command centers. Tarson still macroing off of 2 bases, able to stay in this game right now, but the economy of Violet is just growing so incredibly large now, as we now see Roaches making their way across the map. Siege tanks are being added. Siege tech is being researched. Is it going to be enough? The Hellions are now going to try to once again poke their head through. The Roaches are not going to catch them, as the Hellions are simply too fast. Drones are now trying to make their way down over here, and this is going to be a really bad engagement if those drones stick around far too long. Roaches are going to be able to catch these Hellions in transit once more. Down they go. Roaches on creep almost as fast as Hellions, as SCVs now repairing, and in comes the engagement here. The siege tanks do not have siege tech. The Roaches just focusing down onto those Thors. The Thors absorbing a lot of damage there, and that was a little bit of a luck factor by Tarson. Tarson had 2 very low hit point Thors, and then all of the Roaches attacked 1 low hit point Thor at a time by focus firing, and that actually hurt him a lot. We can now see Banshees now making their way over, perhaps going to shut down this hatchery over here. There's 1 Queen now trying to run away. Is it going to be enough? Going to focus down 1 Queen at a time. Mass transfusions. Is it going to save it? It looks like it is not going to get saved, and now this hatchery may get constantly transfused. As the units are backing off, you can see another command center being built. Siege tanks in siege mode, finally stopping this Roach aggression, as the Hellions now coming back in for even more just torching fun. 38 workers killed, as the Hellions now trying to take down more drones. The Roaches are catching them out of position. We are at Hive Tech, and we are now going into a Greater Spire by Violet. So a Greater Spire, meaning Broodlords, that is a definite strong option, as the siege tanks are going to melt away many of those Roaches, and the losses are now getting higher and higher for Violet. Even though Violet has a superior economy right now, the gap has started to close, as the Roaches have not been able to freely travel, as these creep tumors and this creep highway is not completely established. More drones getting taken down here. The Queen's trying to chase after these Banshees. It looks like there is going to be 1 Spore Crawler here, as the Banshee's going to make their way off to the north, perhaps pick off 2 or 3 more drones. There's another drone. There's another drone. A Banshee does get taken down in the exchange as well. as Violet now having a much larger army, but the majority of that army is in mass roaches, and he cannot push in, especially against 7 siege tanks here on the front door. Those siege tanks are level 1 weapon upgraded, level 2 about halfway completed. Banshees and Thors, a very heavy mech style of play here. Not exactly sure how Tarson has this much gas to go this many siege tanks and Thors, but still very, very effective, as we now see a burrowed roach here. The burrowed roach going to prevent the orbital command from landing, as the Hellions once again do another drive-by. The Banshee now simply running all the way back. The Hellions going to simply make their way into the main base, but it is going to see this fleet, or this flock of Broodlords, and by seeing those Broodlords, it is going to tip his hand. So now these very slow-moving Broodlords are making their way out. We can see one Viking being trained. That is not going to be enough. He should really cancel the Banshee as well, going into additional starports, and he needs something to really counter these Broodlords. Broodlords gonna be able to rain a lot of broodlings straight up onto all of these siege tanks here, as we now see the SCVs transferring to this third base. Broodlords, 10 of them in the air, 2 or 3 more, so a total of 15 now being added. The roaches are going to be pushing in as well. And what is going to be happening here? It looks as though Vikings are being added, but the Vikings may be too little, too late. Double training Vikings not going to be able to do very much, as the Broodlings now pushing in here. Siege tanks just getting completely devastated by those Broodlords. Those Broodlings now surrounding those targets, and now the engagement needs to happen. In comes the roaches. Roaches trying to run away, and now taking down one very, very heavy shell shock set of damage there, as the Broodlings are still raining in. There are a fair number, or only one Viking in the air right now, as the Queens are joining in on the fight. More Vikings need to be added to this group. It looks like what is going on, the Thor is trying to stay in this group fight as well, as it looks as though the Queens are now going to be attacking against all of those Vikings. Point defense drone, yes, is definitely going to help, perhaps intercepting some of that damage, but the roaches are still pushing in over here. The Banshees are now going after roaches as well. One Viking not even realizing that there's an air fleet right outside his front door, as the Banshee should really be focusing onto the Queen. The units are now once again backing away. You can see that there is one more Broodlord here. Banshees are going to try to finish off the rest of these roaches. The roaches are hitting the heavy production here, as now we go into Corruptors. The Corruptors of Violet finishing off the lone Viking that is left. And now what are the Thors going to do? That is the key question now, as the roaches are now burrowed after the Banshee has been taken down. But I believe the missile turret does spot that here. All of those roaches now running forward and be able to take down that one particular missile turret. Now going to attempt to shoot down all of these roaches. The roaches are trying to run away. The Raven is joining in on this fight. The roaches do not have anywhere to hide. They are going to burrow, but the Raven is going to spot them there. And now all of those roaches pretty much need to perhaps do a little bit of smart engaging and taking down some of those units as well. Back over here, roaches now running straight into the only base mining for Tarson. Tarson now giving the GG here on Metalopolis. So Tarson losing game 3 in this best of 3 series to an amazing group of Broodlords, catching Tarson completely off guard. A little bit of miss micro, and just completely not reading his opponent. Still training up Banshees when they didn't need to be there. And Violet almost lost his really strong economic advantage. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.